Chapter 8. Charles arrived at the hospital quickly. At that moment, the call from the kindergarten principal, Diana Preston, came through. Upon hearing that I had a sudden illness and couldn't take my child to school, Diana Preston spoke in a soothing tone to comfort me briefly. Then she swiftly asked my husband to take Sophie to the kindergarten. This health check opportunity is truly rare. It's not just basic examinations, there's also a genetic disease test, which costs quite a bit of money if one pays for it. This time, we have a big boss willing to sponsor it for free. It's a rare opportunity, so try to let Sophie participate, okay? I said no. We're not participating. Our Sophie is very healthy, she doesn't have any genetic diseases. I hung up the phone in anger. Charles was startled by my sudden outburst. Why fight with the principal? She meant well. Meant well? In my previous life, after learning the truth about Sophie's accidental death, I had inquired about where the principal and class teacher lived. Unexpectedly, not long after Sophie's incident, both the principal and the class teacher resigned from the kindergarten. Principal Diana Preston got a job as a deputy general manager in one of C.O. Frost's subsidiary companies. Class teacher Claire Windsor suddenly became wealthy and went back to her hometown to buy a luxury house. Of course, they were anxious when the kindergarten students didn't want to attend the health checks. If everyone skipped the checkup, who would match for C.O. Frost's precious grandson? Missing such a heaven-sent opportunity, how else could ordinary people like them curry favor with the richest man in the province? I dawdled at the hospital, and by the time all the checkups were done, it was almost noon. Because I erupted in anger and clung to Sophie tightly, Charles didn't dare send Sophie to kindergarten. Unexpectedly, just as we got home that evening, the class teacher's call came through to Charles's phone. Meredith, you take a day off and rest at home tomorrow, and I'll take Sophie to school. The class teacher said that many children didn't attend the checkup today. They didn't complete their task, and there will be a make-up test tomorrow, so we must go? My heart sank. A great fury surged from within, rising up. All right, so you're not giving us a way out, huh? Then none of us shall live. Chapter 9. Charles thought I was being completely unreasonable. It's just a routine checkup, and it's free. Isn't that a good thing? Can you stop making a fuss, Meredith? Just for a checkup? You've offended the principal and class teacher. Is it worth it? I looked at him darkly. Is there such a thing as a free lunch in this world? What if they take Sophie's blood sample and match it for some rich people with terminal illnesses? You're paranoid, Charles roared. At that moment, my mother-in-law also came over, joining Charles in scolding me. It's just drawing a vial of blood. They're not asking for money, they're offering you a health check for free. It shows you're from a small household. You just can't make it to the big stage. Me from a small household. What kind of grand household is you hearts? Since I had no intention of staying with Charles any longer, why should I bother saving face for this mother and son? You despise me for coming from the countryside? When I married Charles, your family gave a dowry of $280, and my parents provided a dowry of $660 also. Why didn't you say I was from a small household then? Scorn us for being rural people? My parents live in an 800 square meter detached villa. What about your family? You all cram into an old broken down 89 square meter apartment, and the money for the renovation even had to come from my dowry. CX. So, this is what it means to be a distinguished city dweller. The most important thing to my mother-in-law in her life was her face. Being called out by her daughter-in-law and having her city dweller facade stripped away in front of everyone, she gasped for air in anger. Charles, are you just going to stand there and let your wife bully your own mother? Of course, Charles took his mother's side, his face dark as he pressed me to apologize to her. Chapter 10. Apologize? Why should I apologize? I folded my arms, not budging an inch. Is it really worth it just for a checkup? Charles frowned, trying to smooth things over as usual. My mom had a hard time raising me and also helped raise Sophie, until now. Meredith, don't you have any gratitude? I was simply astounded by his shameless selfishness. Your mom had a hard time. Wasn't that the trouble your dad caused? Also, don't keep saying helping me raise the child, as if Sophie is only mine. Your mom is just helping you raise your child. If anyone should be grateful, it should be you. Seeing that Charles hadn't laid a hand on me, my mother-in-law lunged over and slapped him twice. I raised you, and it turns out you're less grateful than a dog. Even a dog knows to protect its master. I raised you, bought you a house, and got you a wife. You ungrateful wretch, you actually side with your wife to bully me, your own mother. If you don't teach your wife a lesson today, then take this jinx and that little money loser and get out of my house. Chapter 11. Meredith Lane, did you hear that? Aren't you going to apologize to her mom? Charles looked at me coldly. Apologize your ass. I pushed Charles aside, grabbed my already packed suitcase, picked up Sophie, and rushed out the door. My mother-in-law continued to curse triumphantly behind me. If you leave, don't bother coming back. Charles didn't expect me to really leave. He tried to follow me, but my mother-in-law held him back. Let her go. I want to see where she can go. If I had known earlier that she didn't want to give you a son, not to mention a dowry of $660, even if it were $880, Sazero, I wouldn't have agreed to let her enter our family. Charles fell silent. We had argued more than once about having a second child. Charles couldn't understand why, when we could afford to raise another child, I was so adamantly against having a second one. The $660 I brought from my parents' home, which had been kept in fixed deposit, could be withdrawn with interest and would be more than enough to raise another child. Expect me to give birth to a grandson for you hearts and also expect my parents to pay to raise him. What a calculating pair this mother and son were. Mommy, are Grandma and Daddy asking you to have a little brother for me again? In the taxi, my daughter Sophie asked me with a confused face. Do you want a little brother, Sophie? Sophie shook her head decisively. No. Our classmate Katie was sent to her grandmother's house because her mom had a little brother. I don't want anyone to compete with me for mommy. I hugged my daughter, who I had almost lost, and swore to her with tears in my eyes. Mommy doesn't want anyone else. From now on it will only be us, Sophie. Mommy, are you and Daddy going to get a divorce? Sophie asked me. Yes, Mommy has to divorce Daddy because otherwise, Grandma and Daddy will sell you to someone else for a little brother. Sophie, remember what Mommy says from now on. No one except Mommy is allowed to take you to the hospital and draw your blood, understand? Chapter 12. The next day after returning to my parents' home, I had a lawyer draft a divorce agreement for me. Then, I took out my phone and edited the audio recordings of my conversations with the principal and class teacher, along with the school's notice about the physical examination, into a video. I uploaded it to various social media platforms. There was no way I would let Sophie go back to that kindergarten. The best course of action now was to expose the kindergarten's shady scandal completely. This way, all the parents would oppose the so-called genetic testing. No matter how bold the kindergarten was, they wouldn't dare to force all the children to undergo blood tests. I wanted to save my own child. But I didn't want another innocent child to replace Sophie and become the next victim. In just one night, I poured in $100 in 3 installments to boost the traffic for my video. Watching the views and likes skyrocket, I almost couldn't help laughing. This time, I wanted to see if those sewer rats would dare to come out and answer me openly. What exactly was the purpose behind their so-called free physical examination and genetic testing? After 10 p.m., the video quickly became a local hit. My phone started ringing off the hook. The first call was from an unknown number. To my surprise, it was the class teacher Claire Windsor, whom I had already blocked. Sophie's mom, it's just a free physical examination, right? We said it was voluntary. If you as parents are not willing, Sophie doesn't have to participate. Please delete that video, okay? I'm begging you. Then Principal Diana Preston called. True to her status as the principal, she was certainly much higher in rank than the teachers. As soon as the call connected, Diana Preston unsubtly suggested that I not do anything foolish and that if I had any dissatisfaction, we could talk about it in person. Sophie's mom, for such a small matter. You're causing a stir online with a video. Think about it, the provincial city is only so big. If word gets out, even if Sophie transfers schools, will other schools dare to accept her? I said I'd think about it and had just hung up with the principal when Charles's call came through. Meredith Lane, have you gone mad? How dare you post anything online? Quickly delete that damn video. Our boss said that if you don't delete the video, he'll make me pack up my things and leave immediately. I hadn't expected the video to have such a huge impact. Even Charles's boss had been reached by the hidden hand behind the scenes. This gave me a chance to leave the heart smoothly. Oh, you want me to delete the video? Fine. See you at the Civil Affairs Bureau tomorrow morning. Once you sign the divorce agreement, I'll delete the video right away.